I've been playing Marvel Rivals since it launched about a year and a half ago, and one of my favorite things about the game is by far character design. It's really interesting to see how a character is translated into the game, and I've also been seeing a rise in videos and concepts online for how players would create designs for their most wanted characters. And I decided that I'd also dip my toe into the water, seeing as though Jubilee has now been leaked for next season, and I want to see how my concept holds up to the official. How this is going to work is that I've made 8 concepts, 2 Vanguards, 2 Duelists, 2 Strategists, and 2 special characters. Each class has 1 male and 1 female character, just so, you know, everything is fair. If you do go on to enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It really means a lot to me, and you never know, maybe if this video gets enough attention, they might get noticed by the Marvel Rivals devs. And if you guys do enjoy this video, I'd like to make more concept videos like this, and I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments down below. They might make it into future videos. Also, any concepts that appear in this video, I will try my best to credit the artist, and this is how I'd like to see these characters appear in game. But without further ado, let's jump right in with... Okay, so this is gonna sound really bad, but this is actually a week after I was meant to record this, because I was looking at my concept for Sentry. This is who I'm gonna be covering now, and I was like, you know what, I don't think he's strong enough. So I actually went and reworked him, which I know sounds really bad, especially for a concept character, and you guys would probably be terrified, but trust me, I think I cooked with this, and I think he's fairly balanced. So let's jump right in. Sentry is of course a Vanguard because he's in the Vanguard section, and I think it's the only role that he would make sense as. He has 725 base health, and the way I've designed Sentry is that he's sort of the character to keep enemies at a distance. Like, you'll hold them off and keep them at a far away distance, and you'll punish them for getting close, and you'll see with the moveset that I've chosen now. His primary fire I've called Solar Strikes, and these are basically projectile blasts. Each successful hit causes a 5-meter radius explosion. For his first ability, I've got Psionic Shield, which is sort of like in the movie. He catches incoming fire with an invisible barrier, then fires it back once it's broken. The more damage that's caught in the shield converts into bonus health up to a max of 300. For his second ability, I've got Hypersonic Surge. He dashes forward with an uppercut, and he can have 2 possible attacks. Option 1 is to slam the enemy into the ground, causing 10-meter radius explosion and 50 bonus health per opponent hit by that explosion. And his second ability will be a laser, which would grant more bonus health gains depending on the total health of the opponent. So this is completely percentile based. For example, there'd be more bonus health if you were to damage Venom with it than you were to damage Luna. And for his third ability, he would have Crushing Grip, where he uses his psionic powers to lift up more than one enemy and damages them over time. Another percentile based attack. And he can also press another button to throw the enemies. His ultimate is called Voiding Fission, where he transforms into the Void for 15 seconds. This amplifies damage on the Void's attacks and also his teammates' attacks, and damaging the Void grants him bonus health and increases the radius of his final attack, in which he sends anyone within that area to the Void, killing them instantly. Just like other transformation ultimates, the Void will get his own new moveset, which consists of a primary fire like Scarlet Witch, but it blinds opponents over time, sort of like Daredevil's ultimate. His left trigger is called Shadow Safeguard, where he holds up the wall, then pushes towards the opponents when broken, blinding them instead of dealing damage to them. The left button is called Gravitational Grab, where he pulls the opponents towards them, sort of like Bucky's left trigger, and he puts them in a chokehold, absorbing life force. And for his right button, it would be Nullifying Nuisances, where he sends in a 20-meter cone any opponent's abilities to the Void for 5 seconds. Basically, they're able to use their primary attack, but their ultimate and their other abilities are unavailable. Also, Sentry would get the passive Slow Fall because he can sort of fly, but I didn't want to incorporate that into his moveset. So as you can see, this is a pretty interesting moveset and concept. I am pretty happy with how this turned out. I think he'd be very powerful and would switch up the meta. Now moving on to our second Vanguard, I've got Carol Danvers herself, Captain Marvel. Now like Angela, she would be a flyer, however she would have 700 health and I've designed her around soaking as much damage up as possible and taking hits for the team. Her primary fire is Nova Knuckles, which are just regular punches and continuously hitting the opponent's built up energy before releasing an explosion, dealing bonus damage and granting bonus health. Her first ability is called Spatial Shield, where she absorbs incoming fire, building up energy like the Magneto ultimate before releasing it in an explosion around her, damaging opponents and granting bonus health to nearby allies. For her second ability, we've got Interstellar Blast, where she charges up an energy blast, creating an explosion and pulling enemies towards it. For her third ability, I've got Atomic Overdrive. Atomic Overdrive basically increases flight speed, and she absorbs fire towards her like the Magneto ultimate. However, 15% of the damage taken converts into bonus health, and she can slam into the ground to create an explosion. For her ultimate, I've got Quasar Crash. She charges up energy in the air, draining enemy health and granting allies bonus health. She absorbs all incoming fire like the Magneto ultimate, then slams down, creating an explosion, knocking everyone back, including her teammates. And for passive, I've got a completely original one called Gravitational Pull, where opponents are slowly pulled towards her at a short to medium range. Overall, I really like this concept for Captain Marvel. I think it's really fresh and original, a tank that is able to pull attacks and opponents towards them, as if it's directing all of the incoming fire towards them and letting their teammates focus on the main objective and take a little bit of weight off their shoulders. But with that being said, let's move on to our DPSs. First up in the Duelist category, I've got Mary Poppins himself, Yondu. Yondu is probably one of my favourite concepts I've come up with, and he's very much an extremely fun poke hero. He has 275 health, with his entire moveset being based around the Yaka Arrow. His primary fire is called Whistling Whiplash, where he whistles a rhythm for the Yaka Arrow to attack one opponent at a time. The longer you damage an opponent, the faster it attacks. So basically, the longer you hit one opponent with it, the faster and more damage it does to them. For his first ability, Yondu has Pinpoint Pursuit, where you hold the trigger down for 5 seconds, and by looking around, you can lock onto more than one enemy within range before the arrow attacks with quick succession, each successful hit granting 30 bonus health. For ability number 2, we've got Ravaging Rush, which acts as his mobility, where he holds onto the arrow Mary Poppins style to dash forward. However, if he is within range of an opponent, he can lock onto the enemy, dealing damage before the cooldown. And for his third ability, I've got Quick Fire Quiver, where he charges up the arrow to fire in a straight line, knocking any enemies back before returning back to Yondu from the same position, damaging any obstructing opponents on the way back again. And for his ultimate, I've got Revenge of the Ravager, where the arrow flies into any enemies with a 40-meter radius for 10 seconds, sort of like that scene from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 combined with Psylocke's ultimate, then ending with each enemy hit exploding. Yondu would also have 2 passives, a Mary Poppins Yaw, which is basically slow fall where he holds onto the Yaka Arrow, and Swindler Swipe, where eliminating opponents temporarily grants bonus health. I really like this concept and I am very proud of it. I really want Yondu to be added to the game. He's definitely one of the more underrated picks, and hopefully this is the concept that they end up going with for his moveset, and I think he's a very interesting addition to the meta. Now, controversially, for my second DPS, I actually have a sniper. Which sniper, I hear you ask? Well, a very famous assassin herself, Mystique. Mystique would be a much better sniper than Black Widow, don't worry, it will not be a throw pick. Mystique would have 300 health, and her primary fire would be called Silent Sniper. It'd be similar to Black Widow's, but no sound would be coming off of it, and hitting enemies temporarily mark them. Hitting them again in that time deals bleed to the opponent, and Mystique gains bonus health. For her secondary fire, she has an energy revolver, which is a medium speed revolver sort of like Bucky's but with 6 bullets, and it grants bonus damage on headshot. For her first ability, it is Shifting Stealth, which is like the usual camouflage abilities where she camouflages for 5 seconds and damage temporarily reveals her, etc, etc. For ability 2, I've got Grappling Tentacle, where she transforms her hand into a tentacle that acts as a grappling hook to surfaces or latches onto enemies. The enemies are trapped for 2 seconds before breaking loose. The following actions are available. Option number 1, you pull yourself towards trapped opponents, or option number 2, you propel the opponent away, causing damage if hit into a structure. For her third ability, she's got, of course, Identity Theft. After killing opponents, this ability becomes available, where she can transform into a selected opponent for 20 seconds, gaining all abilities for a brief period, and the username is the same as the enemy's temporarily to blend with the opposing team. This would of course have an extremely long cooldown, and for her ultimate ability I have Mercenary's Annihilation. She's given 5 seconds to mark opponents before sending out a charged blast that hits all the opponents marked, insta-killing them, and anyone else hit within the line is given the bleed effect. Her passive is Assassin's Mark. All sniper shots and headshots on revolvers mark opponents briefly and grants bonus health to Mystique. I think this is how a sniper should have been done. Not only does it reward you for giving good shots, but she can put out some insane damage even if it does not one-tap the opponents, and also gives the energy revolver, which is so much more effective than Black Widow's baton sticks. But finally, let's move on to the last class before giving you the surprise category. For the first strategist, I've got a pretty interesting one here, and that is the Spot. The Spot is probably the most unique character you're going to see on this list, apart from the special class ones. The Spot would have 275 health, and his kit would rely solely on his ability of his wormholes. For his primary fire, he would have multiversal munitions, where he summons a portal which fires random characters' attacks, such as Jeff's Splash, Mr. Fantastic's Punch, or Penny's Laser, to give a few ideas. And it changes each time you reload. For his first ability, we've got Warping Wormhole, which is a hole that changes into healing for teammates as it passes through. And for his second ability, we've got Hopeful Hole, which creates a portal that links to teammates, granting heals over time. For his third ability, he has Sweeping Switcheroo, where he fires a portal forward. Any hit enemies are teleported 15 meters away from Spot. However, the teammates that are hit by it are teleported 15 meters towards him. His ultimate is Perilous Pit, where he immerses the area in darkness, healing teammates while damaging and blinding opponents. Once the ultimate ends, teammates are teleported away and opponents are teleported off of the map. And finally, for his passive, he has Rifting Retreat, which is where if the Spot gets on low health, he is teleported away. I'm very proud of this concept. It is absolute chaos, and it is what I think a strategist really needs. I think this would definitely spice up gameplay. It would definitely shake up the meta a little bit, and that's what I really wanted to create with this concept. And now this is the character that I'm really excited to share, because I'll have to compare how she works compared to the concept that the devs use for Marvel Rivals, and that is of course Jubilee. Jubilee is definitely an explosive character, which I've definitely incorporated a lot into her moveset, and she is more of a strategist than a healer, if you get what I mean, and you'll see in a second. She would have 250 health, and her primary fire would be called Fun Crackers, where she fires fireworks in blasts that explode on impact, damaging opponents and granting teammates 50 bonus health per hit up to 200. For her secondary fire, I've got Flow Works, which are short range of fireworks that builds up reduced healing and grants damage buff and incoming damage reduction to teammates as long as Jubilee is firing. This is also a percentile based ability. For her first ability, I've got Gum Bombs, and this is where she throws packs of explosive bubble gum onto the ground, which damages opponents and causes the slow effect, and teammates walking through the gum get passive healing. And for her second ability, I've got Dazzling Blast, which would introduce the new Daze ability that temporarily blinds opponents and causes reduced healing to opponents. And finally, for her ultimate, I've got Atomic Anarchy, where she absorbs energy before releasing it in a nuclear blast, vaporizing opponents and healing allies up to full health. This is a very basic moveset, but I think we need to have some simple characters in the game, and I think this really embodies Jubilee as a character, and hopefully this is just as good, if not better, than the one that Marvel Rivals comes up with, fingers crossed. But now it's time to talk about the best part of my concepts. These are the hybrid characters. Now, with these hybrid characters, I reserved it for the characters who are going to be some of the most powerful ones in the comics, and I wanted to make them that they could flow in between different classes so they could fit into the Vanguards, DPS, and the healing ones. And who better off to start with to show an unstoppable threat as Thanos. Thanos would have 800 health, And before I jump into his moveset, I have to tell you about his passive, which ties everything together, the Call of Inevitability. Throughout the match, Thanos gains Infinity Stones by passing milestones, which would replace his abilities with new powers, and the progression depends on which stone the player picks when reaching the milestone. For his regular moveset, before he has any of the stones, his primary fire would be Blade of Oblivion, which would be an up-close, hard-hitting, slow-swinging blade. For his first ability, he has Destructive Deflection, where he uses the blade, spinning it around to deflect damage back at opponents. For his second ability, there's Devastating Discus, where he throws the blade forward like Deadpool's icon throw. For ability number 3, he holds to jump up and slam down into the ground. For ability number 4, it's Wrecking Rubble, where he takes a chunk of ground out of the floor and throws it at opponents. But once you collect all the Infinity Stones, this is his maxed out moveset. His primary fire is the Power Pulse, a laser from the Power Stone like Ultron's primary fire combined with the one from Fortnite, if you get what I mean. For his secondary fire, he's got Telepathic Torture. The Mind Stone pulls opponents towards you and damages them over time, like Emma Frost's ultimate, but enemies can still fire at you. For the left trigger, he's got the Hard Truth, where the Reality Stone creates a barrier, deflecting damage before firing the barrier back at opponents, slowing them. For his left button, he's got Savoring the Glory, where the Time Stone rewinds health bars of allies, aka heals them, or opponents, reverting healing that they just gained. For his right button, he's got Soul Snare, where the left trigger give to yourself and the right trigger you give to your ally, which links them basically with the opponent, granting life steal. And for his last ability, he has Second Chance, where the Space Stone teleports you and the enemy back to your respective spawns. And finally, for his ultimate, you can all probably guess it.
I am inevitable.
Thanos snaps, wiping out anyone in the nearby area and resurrecting teammates. However, he sacrifices 75% of his health. This will only work when he has all 6 stones. Once the ultimate is finished, Thanos goes back to his base moveset and must earn the stones all back again. Each stone also gives bonuses to his team. The Power Stone grants a damage boost, Space increases movement speed, Reality increases healing gained from health packs, Soul grants team resistance to reduced healing, Time reduces ability cooldowns on teammates by 10%, and the Mind Stone marks opponents every 2 minutes. If you collect all 6 stones, however, there's another passive which is given to Thanos alone, called the Weight of Infinity. Once Thanos gets all 6 stones, he receives reduced healing, reduces his total health by 150, and reduces his movement speed. This, of course, is a very interesting character concept. I know it seems very overpowered at first, however, I designed it that it's sort of like a glass cannon. The more stones you get, the weaker you get, and you have to sacrifice all that power to use the ultimate. But as Thanos said,
The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
and if you are a good teammate, you are willing to take that sacrifice. Anyways, let's move on to our final character. Now, you're probably wondering, if Thanos was the male one, who's the female one? Who is so ridiculously chaotic and powerful that I decided to make them a hybrid? Well, the answer is Gwenpool. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth am I meant to make Gwenpool into her own character? Now, no offense, even though in the comics she has stated that she is not like Deadpool, she kind of is like him. But don't you worry, I've already had this discussion with one of my friends, and I believed that I could make an original design for Gwenpool. Gwenpool would have 350 health to make it fair across all 3 classes, and her ability would be Hammer Space, where she could swap out her moveset whenever she pleases, each with an option for Vanguard, Duelist, or Strategist. You'll get what I mean in a second. For primary fire is her gun. For the Vanguard option, she's got a bazooka, which is a slow, heavy hitting missile launcher. For the DPS category, she's got Uzis, which are sort of like Star-Lord's pistols, and for the Strategist category, she's got a health pack water gun, which only heals and does no damage, sort of like Season 1 Jeff. For a secondary fire, she's got katanas, sort of like Deadpool, but each one is vastly different compared to each other. For the tank, she's got a massive sword, which is slow, heavy hitting, and slicing wind comes off it, damaging opponents and knocking them back. For the DPS, she's got katanas, fast slice and dicing, faster the more you hit the opponents. And for her healing, she's got throwing daggers where she throws them and they're lined with health to heal teammates. For her first ability, she's of course needs self-protection. For her Vanguard, she's got the white space portal where she grabs a massive square of white space to absorb incoming damage and it shrinks over time. For the DPS, she's got the cutout rammer where she carries a cutout of herself that takes incoming damage, then she can throw it at the enemies to damage them. However, it can fall apart before she can even throw it. And for her healing category, she's got plot armor where she literally puts on a plot armor shield that turns all incoming fire into healing for allies. For her second ability, it's called To Me My Ex Bag, which she basically summons a case to swap out her moveset. However, she can be damaged during this, sort of like how Deadpool can be damaged while using his book. And for her movement ability, it's Action Slide, where she slides forward, leaving a trail for allies. For the tank role, it grants bonus health, sort of like Cap's ult. For the DPS, it grants increased movement speed. And for the healing, it grants passive healing to teammates. And if you think this couldn't get any worse, her ultimate is called Random Bull Go, where she uses the white space to summon a random portal based on which class you select. For example, if you choose the Vanguard one, only Vanguard ultimates will come out of it. DPS, it would be, for example, Scarlet Witch ultimate, and for healer, let's just say the Jeff ultimate, if you get what I mean. The ultimate that comes out of it is based on which class you select. Now, this is a very chaotic and could be probably overpowered character. However, I think this is a really nice concept. I think I've balanced it fairly well enough to be passable in the game for about a season or two before she gets nerfed into the ground. But anyways, that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Did you like these concepts? Do you think they're accurate? Or do you think they are so badly balanced and I should never become a game dev? Let me know down below in the comments. But with all of that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.